Profitable practices. Farm solutions for people, profit, and the planet on Real Agriculture is brought to you by Farm Credit Canada and RBC Royal Bank.
I'm Amber Bell, and this is Real Agriculture. Here today in New Norway, Alberta, getting to speak with Scott Keller of Keller Farms. And we're going to be talking about controlled traffic farming for this Profitable Practices episode. So welcome, Scott. It's great to see you.
Thanks for coming out, Amber.
We are standing in a field. I'm 5'8", and this canola is some of it's past my shoulders.
Yep.
What did you do differently here?
Well, yeah, like it's been a dry year. Like we've had 3.7 inches of rain until this past weekend when we got another 2 inches of rain, but that's like half of normal. So this crop should not be this good. I'm attesting a lot of it to our CTF that we adopted a good 10 years ago now, and I think we're starting to reap the rewards of that because, you know, we've looked after getting the soil so it's not as compacted as it used to be. We can see that by digging up plants and looking at the roots. And a crop like canola that has a massive taproot system, if we can store water deeper in the soil, it's a plant that can actually access that. Like some of the other crops we grow, like wheat, barley, peas, we grow faba beans as well, but like especially a crop like peas, it's fairly shallow rooted. So even it might completely, sure the roots might proliferate through that first 2 feet, but they're not going to access water deeper than that. So, you know, where canola on the other hand, it can go 5-6 feet deep. So if you can get rid of your compaction so that the roots can access that stored water, then, you know, I think that's a reason why we have a crop as nice as this on a, you know, one of our driest years we've ever seen to this point.
And let's talk about controlled traffic farming. So what has that taken to implement on the farm?
Yeah, so it was kind of like, you don't just decide one day and boom, you go, and now this next year we're going to be CTF. You know, that could be pretty expensive depending on what equipment you have to change. But if it's a plan that you want to move that way, like I first heard of the idea, can't remember the exact year, but Steve LaRock had Robert Rootwold from Australia, and they spoke at Farm Tech maybe back in 2010, 2011, something like that. So I was sold on the idea at that point. It made so much sense. It just, I didn't have the equipment lined up to move to that. So it was in the back of my head. So we had RTK on the farm because we were already trying to inter-row seed with our FlexiCoil back then. And we just took the sprayer and I said, well, we got 35-foot combine headers. I have a 57-foot drill. That's not going to work. But then I have a 100-foot sprayer. We added some small boom extensions and turned it into a 105-foot sprayer so we could start spraying on tram. We did that in 2014. We got the combine rigged up, got rid of the duals, put on some big LSW tires, got it on tramline in 2014, I believe it was, or 15. And then in spring of 15, we got a different drill. So it's kind of like I would say it took 4 to 5 years to go from, I like that idea, that's where I want to go, to we're implementing it. So it's kind of like when every time there was a decision to upgrade a piece of equipment. So for us in 15, it's time for a precision drill. I should have just stuck with a 60-foot because that was about the same size as my FlexiCoil was. I had the tractor that could pull that. I wanted to do CTF. Add 10 more feet, it was an extra $20,000 at the time. So there's a direct cost with CTF. The tractor I had could still pull a drill 70 feet. So really it's getting the RTK and everything. And then you got to kind of plan out where your axle widths need to be. But it's mostly a lot of planning, and then, you know, over time implementing that plan as you need to upgrade. So it's easy to start with the sprayer, with the combine header width in mind, and then expand from there.
Right, so not quite as simple as just adding, you know, some software onto your tractor.
That's right. It's a system change is what it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what has that actually looked like on the ground? Has that made your farming practices easier? What has the ROI looked like on it?
Yeah, so when you change everything on the whole farm, we don't have an area, a field where it's like, yeah, we just still random traffic that field. So it's very hard to measure into a calculated ROI, but anecdotal stuff like I can go out with my compaction probe and check out where our compaction layers are. I didn't have one before CTF, so I can't say, oh, it's changed this amount, but anecdotal stuff like just watching water puddles in the spring that should be larger or there should be more of them, and they're not there.
Right. What did this field or some of your other fields, what did they look like prior to starting CTF?
Yeah, like we could, this is some of our better land here, but it's only about 5.5% organic matter. It's pretty flat. This would grow a good canola crop every year, but on 3.7 inches of rain, not a chance. Like it'll be interesting to see how this yields. There isn't a whole lot of blanks on these pods. Some of them are still pretty small because it's obviously still making flowers. But to have this much vegetative growth on a year with that amount of rain and like a super dry June, I can't believe it. Like, we've been cool as well. We've only had one day above 30 in July, so that's a key thing for canola. But I'm blown away by what this crop has been able to do.
So you've seen an impact during drought conditions. Are there any other environmental conditions that you're like, yeah, CTF would be the time to have
So we started, like I said, spraying trams in 14-ish, and the sprayer goes over every acre 4 times a year. 2016, we had over 20 inches rain. Like, it was double normal. Everybody was wet in this province, I think, in 16. And when we were trying to do our fungicide, I had this small field where I didn't get my tramlines laid out in the right spot, so I had to move my sprayer trams that spring. When I did pre-burn, I moved them about 15 feet. So that had 2 passes on it. You had your pre-burn, then your herbicide. Then I come in with the skinny pizza cutters, and I start spraying this small field, and I'm cutting ruts everywhere, 18 inches deep, wondering why I'm not getting stuck. Finished it, hopped across the road on a field that had just, 2 full years of doing tramlines. So it's been drove in the same spot maybe 10, 11 times already. You'd be a little dicey turning on the headlands in the mud because that's not really a tramline there, but you'd hit the auto steer button. The sprayer would kind of teeter around. You could feel it in the seat. It'd pop up like it's on a balance beam, and it would pop up on those tramlines, and off you go. And as long as it stayed on them, it would go. It wouldn't even pick up mud on the tires. In fact, I had this one spot where basically I just filled the sprayer, going down my tram line, and there's a huge pond where the water was sitting, where it had run off and in this low spot. And I'm like, this is going to look really dumb if I'm stuck in the middle of it. So I'm not going to stay on my tram lines. I'm going to go around it. So I started turning 400 feet before. As soon as I turned off the tram lines, the sprayer just started sinking.
Oh no.
I didn't even get to the water. I turned and looped. I could feel in when I drove back across the tram lines, it jumped up, and then I made my angle and grabbed another tram and got back on it. And like, that was lesson learned, like, stay on tram line no matter what. Like, you just stay on them, because once you get off them, if it's wet, you're going to be buried or making massive ruts. So to be able to get out kind of when you need to, whether you got some tight windows for fusarium head blight timing, just anything, like you want to go to the lake, like you want to do other things, like you want to be able to spray when you have to. Well, if Mother Nature's made it wet and you're more likely to be spraying fungicides, and it doesn't cooperate that when the crop is ready that you can get in the field because it's too muddy, like CTF has added that benefit of timeliness in as well.
And that portion of ROI would be hard to calculate for as well.
Yeah, almost impossible. Like, we kind of know a few rules. Like, we know, when you spray late, and that's what you're going to do. If it's too muddy, you're going to be waiting to get out there, or you get a plane in, I guess. You could always say that you could just hire the plane to spray it for you. But yeah, it's timeliness and calculate that ROI. Like, at the end of the day, we're not really changing anything other than we're Like, it's not like I bought a new piece of machinery and we're seeding completely different. Like, we're just adapting everything that we already have, matching up widths, and buying different tires. We're getting rid of the duals and we're going to LSW single tires. That's really the gist of it. We're in a row seeding. We got to make sure we had to do a better job of spreading the straw. Like, we've been zero till for a long time, but the FlexiCoil C-shank would get through the straw a heck of a lot better than our Seedmaster would. So we did have to make some improvements there with the combine, more just cutting heights and knowing when to quit. You know, pushing through for another hour late into the evening in non-prime conditions is sometimes like, you pay for it in the spring. But you could say that with almost every drill. But a lot of the times if you're not doing CTF, the answer is, well, if the combine went north-south, if I seed east-west, or if I seed on an angle, I'm going to be able to get through it with my drill. I don't have that choice anymore, right? So that's where we've had to learn lessons and
ways to work around it.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. I want to thank you so much for your time. That was Scott Keller on Real Agriculture.